Okay, so let's take a look at how you can set up Rocky Linux on Google Cloud Platform. And for that, we will be making use of Compute Engine's VM option, right? So what we're going to do is we will first set up our Google Cloud account. We will create one project. We will also make sure to set up the billing. Next thing would be we will be going to main navigation menu, then click on Compute Engine, then click VM instance. Now in this particular case I'll be installing Rocky Linux, right? So we will be doing that part. Before that, let me show you. I have added my own SSH key through settings metadata. If you want to use your own, or you wish to choose Google Cloud's own SSH keys for accessing SSH in browser, you can do so as well, right? So there is option for you to choose from. Now click on create instance. Now when I say create instance, you have to click on the top button, right? On the right you have pricing summary, on the left you have option to choose from for creating instance, like creating everything from scratch, then creating from template, then creating from existing ISO image. Also there is a marketplace option to choose an option for OS or database or any server that is pre-built for you. Now we will name our instance. Let's name this Dev Rocky. Then here you can give it a label. If you want to sort that resource, you can pick the region for data center that will be permanently locked to that instance. So in my case I am picking the cheaper one, which is from US4. Asian data centers are expensive in my case, so I'll not be picking them up. Then comes the machine configuration. Choose the general purpose if you are testing or doing some low load resource, and so you pick the series from C3, E2, N2, T, 2D, N1, etc. Next comes the machine type, where you can choose between micro, small and medium, right? Then comes display device. If you want to take screenshot or record certain set of video, then you can make use of display device, and then that will allow you to capture screenshots, videos through that VM as well, right? So in next case, confidential VM service can be enabled if you want to keep the some of the areas of your VM encrypted on disk. Then comes container, where you can deploy the container image to this VM instance. Now the thing is, we will be enabling this by clicking on deploy container. Now comes the boot disk part, where you can see you have option to choose the exact boot disk. So I'll be choosing Rocky Linux here instead of Debian. So let's scroll. Right, so here you see Rocky Linux, right? There are also other Linux options, Windows options, and SQL Server on Windows Server option as well. So here we have Rocky Linux. I'll be choosing its version optimized for GCP. So let's pick the one optimized for GCP. You can pick between ARM or your x86. So I'll pick the x86 optimized for GCP. The space increased by 10, so now the size is 20 GB. This will increase the price. It will show you $29 or so, so you'll have to accept that part. Next is choosing identity and API access. I can choose the default service account, can also allow default access. Next is choosing the firewall, where we have HTTP, HTTPS traffic. Then comes advanced options. So here we have networking part, where we are going to choose the configuration options, right? So here you see also options for disks as well, right? Now next would be choosing the security, right? And if you selected the disk at the top, you can also see the summary would change based on the disk that you have chosen. It will increase the cost. Next is your SSH, where you have to choose between the keys offered to you by Google Cloud. Alternatively, you can also choose the keys through your metadata and SSH section, right? You can also extend this for adding that particular SSH key, and that also works. Next is management option, right? Now once you have set your policies that will enforce on this VM, right? And also set the metadata like I explained in case of SSH, same would apply with metadata as well. You can add that by clicking add item, right? Once we do all the settings from management part, we can move to sole tenancy, where you can see there is nothing for us to configure here, right, for this particular instance. Now all the settings done, you can now create an instance. If you decide to change your mind and wish to choose particular Linux, say Rocky Linux, from marketplace instead of Google's public image, you can do that as well. Choosing then would change the result, right? So here I'm going to click on create instance, which will take 2 to 3 minutes, right? In some cases it gets quickly deployed, but we will have to wait for those changes to take place, right? So here you see the status is going to be changed into runnable and showing green. Here you have your instance. There is also connect option where you can choose to connect through browser, right? So if you click on this, open in browser window, open in another SSH client, open in browser using private SSH key on custom port and gcloud command, you can use those options. Now if I click on instance, right, that should also start with your instance, right? So here you have your configurations, right? You have your IP address, external IP address, both of those things. Then you have your storage where you can see your GCP image for Rocky Linux, right? All of that. And then you have option to connect through this page as well. Now what I will do is I will go back to instance, and here I will show you how to connect. So you can go through either of those options. Here also you have your VM instance related info. You can choose billing, monitor this VM, check its log, check patches, set firewall rules, and so on, right? Now let's click on SSH to open in browser window. Now it will take a bit of time. It will show you that it is connecting through your SSH keys, and then it will load the Rocky Linux. So it will feel like a terminal open in browser, right? So you'll have to wait for that to happen and appear. So it is now slowly loading, so I may have to be a bit patient. Now I can maximize this if you want. At the top you can see our prompt. Let's take a look at settings. I can increase the font size to medium, so it's now a bit more visible. Now if I use ls CPU, it should show me the CPU information for this machine. I can also, now let's use ls usb, and considering it is disabled, it won't be visible. We can use lsblk to check the disk, and that should appear. Also you can use sudo dmi decode, then -t, and then system. That should show you your system information in this particular context. Now I can also use host info if it's installed, or other small tools like top, then du, and so on. But this was just to test whether we have Rocky Linux installed or not, and as you can see that is installed. I have managed to access some of the commands that shows me that it is installed. right? So now that we have our Rocky instance installed, and if I want to get rid of this particular machine, first I will be exiting out of prompt, window will be closed. Now next thing is we will have to select this instance and click on delete, so it will be stopped and it will be deleted afterwards. If you want to protect this sort of deletion, what you can do is enable deletion protection when you are trying to edit this particular instance of your VM in Compute Engine. So you get the idea now how to install your Rocky Linux on Google Cloud and also get rid of that instance at the end.